Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
3 teams have been 15-1 in the history of the National Football League. All right, give yourselves a round of applause.
All right, it's our Friday live stream here. Little Feedback Friday. We'll get to as many of your comments, questions, concerns, critiques as we can from the YouTube comments, the Purple Daily YouTube comments, and also from the feedback tab. Judd, how you're hydrating? I see that. That's good. How are you feeling after 2 days of joint practice?
A little sore. I'm sore. My feet hurt a little bit. It's a lot of standing up. A lot of writing issues. But you know what?
A little carpal tunnel.
We got a game tomorrow. We got an off day today. Got a game tomorrow. We're going to be back stronger than ever for the Cardinals practices. I saw the forecast, by the way. Buckle
It's going to be
up.
hot. Yeah, it's going to be hot.
Those practices are going to be in an Arizona-like heat, but it ain't going to be dry.
Yeah, are we going to have to move those inside somewhere? Like, do they have space to do it inside or not?
No,
really?
I mean, they don't. And they
move it to the stadium. Move it to the stadium.
They like the heat.
Yeah,
They
embrace
like
the
that
heat.
heat.
This damn wind has gotten my allergies hooked back up because they dropped in
with this.
temperature. I've been just sneezing and sniffled and dried for the last 48 hours. Give me the heat. I want the heat. We're going to want that when it's, negative 45 wind chill.
I don't want
Give
the
me
heat. I don't want the heat, but I agree with you on the wind. The summer wind, I don't live here. Like, if I'll move to a place, if I want summer wind, there's a lot of places I could
North
go.
Dakota.
I don't want to be standing there and being blown around. It bothers me.
You guys. I was the only one that had the foresight to wear a hooded sweatshirt to practice yesterday.
Yeah, it was chilly.
You guys were in the
sun.
shade, cold. The wind is blowing you around.
Once I was in the sun, I was fine. But that was a smart move. Yeah, It was much chillier. But you know what? I'll take yesterday's chilly over what we're about to have.
Oh, no
but football
chance.
coaches love the heat.
No chance. Give me the heat. I don't
Well, we
want
just
that
disagree.
dang
It's fine.
wind blowing all over the place. Greg
No,
Joe
I
said
know.
to keep
I need.
them in
I'm
some
gonna sit here till one of you wins this argument.
Yeah, it's fine. We disagree. But what I'm saying is that the Cardinals and Vikings will the coaching staffs, I think, are going to be very pleased because they're going to. I think the whole thing is football coaches like to get their players lathered up. Lathered up.
Lathered up.
Football. Lathered up. Put them in the elements.
So, all right, meteorologists Mekhi, Judd, and Declan are here for some football discussion today, presented by our friends at TCL, one of the best-selling consumer electronics brands with a new lineup of award-winning TVs, delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution at an affordable cost. Learn more at TCL.com and inspire greatness with TCL. And these Friday live streams are also presented by our friends at Surly, the Before I Die lager. That we appreciate everyone sending us pictures of your cans, just showing you that the Before I Die lifestyle spans far and wide.
Yes, and it is time again to get back to show us your cans. I am at Jay Zolgad on X, I guess now. I still call it Twitter. And look at that beautiful can right there. Redesigned can, now available as well in 12 packs. So if I'm not mistaken, last year it was 4 or 6 packs. Not now. Available in 12 packs. Also Saturday night, starting with that game, available in the third deck of US Bank Stadium. So Before I Die speaks to the mission that we are about to talk about, which is to end a streak of no Super Bowls since 1967 when the game began. Maybe this will be the year.
Let's get to the feedback here. From the YouTube comment sections, KFT590 says, it sounds like Akayleb Evans had another concussion yesterday. I don't see how he can keep playing. He's going to end up having brain damage. There's an update on that. So Akayleb Evans did tweet out, and I don't have it in front of me, but I'm paraphrasing, that, hey, my new helmet got tested a little bit yesterday, kind of laughing emoji, but I'm okay. So he sent out I know that he left practice for a while, right? But he is saying he's okay. I guess we'll see if the team holds him out of activities or if he officially enters concussion protocol. We don't know yet, but he said he's okay on Twitter or X.
Yeah, it was a play at the goal line that he broke up, and I think he collided with a teammate, right, Phil? And then he was actually going to stay in the drills, and O'Connell, of all people, raced out and yanked him out. But yeah, that is good news, because coming off 3 concussions like that, I think there's far more concern about the concussions than his actual play. Like, I think he's shaping up to be a nice find in the 4th round. But I also agree, like, if the concussions continue to be a problem in this sport, at some point, you just got to say, I can't do it.
Yeah, so it's something to watch. It's
but that's good. He said he's okay.
You're always going to kind of cringe whenever he hits somebody now, unfortunately, because it is what it is. But Wrigley Ilston via the YouTube comment section says, how are the Vikings so bad at finding corners? So I will say Andrew Booth Jr. Andrew Booth Jr. had kind of a rough day in some certain parts from what I saw. I was watching more of the offense, but he did have a big interception, but then, of course, right after he it's like his highlight of camp so far, right? He picks off this pass against the Titans. I think it was Tannehill in the back of the end zone. And then he turns around and he chucks the ball at the Titans sideline. Yeah. He just literally turns around, and there's video of this on social media, and he just like whips the ball over at a group of Titans on the sidelines and almost started a skirmish. But to Wrigley's question, they've had basically since Xavier Rhodes, they've taken so many shots in the draft, and this is also across 2 different front offices. So how are the Vikings so bad at finding corners?
I think it depends on the regime. I think pre-Zimmer especially, when it was Childress and Spielman, they always were trying to find a corner in like the 3rd round to get cute. And it's my personal opinion that if you identify a really good corner, it's usually a 1st round pick. So like I felt like the Spielman blueprint was often to try to get cute. I'm gonna find a good bargain bin deal on these old linemen in the 6th round. Oh my God, guess what? They failed. The Xavier Rhodes find was actually a great find, and he's a 1st round pick. I've always argued people thought Trey Waynes was trash. I mean, he wasn't fine. Rhodes, but I thought as a player, he was fine. Like he was a solid corner. But I think it partially depends on where you pick them. And like the Booth thing just looks like a miss. Like it just looks like, he was supposedly a 1st round talent that the Vikings got in the 2nd round because he had battled injuries, I think going back to high school, and shockingly, he's had problems with that. So, but I don't know that it's fair to say that they're awful across the board, because I think there's different reasons, but I don't think that you can like dismiss Rhodes and Waynes as like, because they're not busts. And look, it sounds like he's going to be okay, but Mekhi Blackmon looks like he can play. So I guess I'm not willing to just say the entire thing is abysmal. I think at one point it was, but you know what? To their credit, they have done a better job, I think, at times. And corners are hard to find, man. Good corners are hard to find. You are now covering receivers like Justin Jefferson.
I think 2 things work against them too. They don't have as short of a shelf life as running backs in the NFL, where you're looking to like draft one every 4 years, but their peak is not long. Like, look at Xavier Rhodes, perfect example. Like the best cornerback in the NFL. In 2 years, he was off the team. And it's getting harder and harder for them in that position, with this becoming a pass-happy league, wide receivers being able to have more advantages. It's so tough to have them at their peak, and then all of a sudden they fall off the cliff, and they're really not worth paying anymore. So you have to like keep churning them out. And I get that Vikings fans get sick of it, but it's hard to keep them on top of the mountain, basically. I
mean, and how many teams in the NFL, not to like exonerate the Vikings for having a weird cornerback situation, but how many teams in the NFL feel great about their 3 main cornerbacks?
Yeah.
Right. Probably not that many. And then to your point about 1st round picks, okay, let's make sure that we are drafting cornerbacks in the 1st round. Well, they've whipped on some of those too. And then if you start drafting cornerbacks in the 1st round every year, which fans have complained about, well, now you're not drafting edge rushers in the 1st round. Right. Now you're not drafting a receiver or a quarterback or a pass rushing interior defensive lineman or a left tackle. Like, they drafted Christian Darrisaw in the 1st round. Let's take him off the team and let's devote another 1st round pick to a cornerback, right? Like, you only get so many 1st round picks unless you're tanking and trying to stockpile draft picks.
This is why you don't draft unless it's just an incredibly generational type of talent. This is why you don't draft safeties in the first round.
Yeah.
You can find safeties. Corners are hard to find.
Yep. Well, Dennis Green 3757 via YouTube chimes in from the beyond. And he says Duke Shelley played in 8 games. He played long enough to prove he was solid, and he has looked solid this preseason. Dumb take getting rid of Duke. Duke was a huge mistake. Do you think the Vikings will regret not bringing Duke Shelley back?
Oh boy, here's my question: is one thing that we have to keep in mind is Brian Flores is introducing a totally different concept, and so I guess my question is this: Duke Shelley actually played very admirably in the Donatel defense. I don't know that it would have translated, and Brian Flores was there. He could have stepped in and been like, no, we got to keep the Duke of Shelley, no question about it. He didn't. It's also on the same type of note, Patrick Peterson was allowed to go because Flores said we can't put him in man coverage. Like, he didn't have a bad year last year, but if we put him in my defense, it's going to be a disaster. So no, I would say that Brian Flores, for the most part, aside from not allowing guys like Booth to go because they're draft picks, I think Brian Flores has the personnel as close to that he wanted as possible. My guess is that he didn't see Duke Shelley as a fit for his system.
Yeah, I would say send your complaints to Brian Flores, brian.flores@vikings.com or whatever I don't know what his email is. If that is his email address, then I'm sorry, Brian.
I think you just took a good guess. I think they're .net.
Yeah.
.net, Vikings.net.
Yeah,
okay.
I think you hit it.
.net, guys.
So, I mean, like, that's the thing. You can.
Way to go.
Because Dennis Green from the Beyond here is ripping us for saying that, it's not a big deal that Duke Shelley's gone. But it's really Brian. I mean, he wasn't expensive. It wasn't like I don't think he signed it was like a $2 or $3 million contract, right? So,
yeah. And
Brian Flores decided that he didn't need Duke Shelley. So blame Brian Flores, not Judd, not me, not Declan.
Duke Shelley also was the guy who should have picked off a Trey Lance pass last week in that preseason game and literally deflected it to the San Francisco receiver for a touchdown pass. So look, he was a great story. I'm not saying that was not a nice find, but Brian Flores would have stood in the way of that path if he had said, I got to have Duke Shelley. And he didn't.
Brian Smith says, I would love to have you guys do a podcast at the Minnesota State Fair, if that's even possible. Well, Brian, mark your calendar.
Right.
So we're doing one State Fair show, and we're doing it as part of like Hubbard Radio Day and Hubbard. There's like Hubbard TV. That's our parent company, and so we're going to be on the Carousel Park stage Saturday, August 26th at 1:00 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, August 26th, 1 p.m. It's basically right in the middle of the State Fair. It's just kind of adjacent to the grandstand. It's the Carousel Park stage. Maybe we can put a map up sometime next week on one of the shows. But yeah, we'd love to have you out there. Anyone who wants to make that their State Fair day, come on out. We're still formulating plans for what we even want to do, but we'll probably do a random Viking and some other buffoonery.
The greatest hits.
We'll play our greatest hits, yeah.
And I believe
we'll argue about Dante Culpepper and Aaron Rodgers from 15 years ago.
Great. Sounds great.
20 years
back up. And I believe our guy Pat will have the video file too. So I believe our YouTube audience, if you'd like to see what the hell is the State Fair, you can actually still see us. We'll load it in afterwards. We won't be live on YouTube, but we will load that guy in. I love the fair. I got 3 trips already. I go the first Friday. I'll obviously be there. Then the next day.
Judd had a visceral reaction to that.
Yeah,
wow.
I know. And this one's gonna blow. Judd's gonna leave the room when I tell him this. My engagement photos for my wedding are being shot at the Minnesota State Fair.
You told me that before.
Yep.
Let's go.
That's great.
Yep.
Are you guys going to be like awesome. Linking arms and eating corn dogs and stuff?
It's weird. So our photographer, one of his bucket list items was he wants to shoot a thing at the State Fair. In fact, he's like giving our engagement shot for free because it's helping out his portfolio.
Wow.
And I love the fair. She loves the fair, but we were going like kind of near sunset time too. And we're wearing, actually, I'm getting like a whole outfit wardrobe being mailed to me right now. Like we have to wear neutral colors, whole thing. I'm very excited for this though. Very excited.
Maybe Judd can come and help coordinate the photo shoot. Wouldn't that be great, Judd? You could help your sports son, Declan, here. Maybe you could educate him on the history of the Minnesota Twins while between some of the shots. Be great.
I don't remember doing engagement photos in my day.
I think even they're not at like. I think more people do them than most, but they're not like a requirement necessarily.
Okay.
We didn't do them, but we also had we had 9 people at our wedding, and it was a very small thing. But yeah, I think they're pretty. I'd say like 50% or more of people do the engagement photos. There's also like the pregnancy photos too, where like Declan will awkwardly stand behind holding.
We've discussed that.
Don't do a
That's
reveal, or
and we're
I'll
not doing
disown
that
you.
either. Yeah,
Don't do a reveal.
No problem.
If you guys are blessed with kids and you do a reveal, I'm out.
We should do a reveal. Maybe we can get Greg Joseph to so Declan's holding the football, and the football inside the football has blue or pink, and Greg Joseph can kick the football and it explodes.
I'm a Judd. I loathe gender reveals. I can't stand them.
They're kind of funny when they go wrong, though, right?
A little bit. Yeah.
Like some guy swings and misses or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Didn't Kirk have one? He just completely missed the target and was just like, "What the hell was that?" Dude?
In fairness, the target was down by the ground, and he kind of
Okay, Kirk.
the target the target should have been up higher,
it's not
like
his
a receiver's
fault.
hand.
It's the defense.
The offensive line did not protect him during
the placement.
Let's see here. Tim Cody chimes in via the Score North app. Oh, so by the way, on the Saturday, August 26th, 1 o'clock. Mark your calendars. We'd love to hang out with you and see you, Carousel Park. Tim Cody says, coming to town for my first Vikings game in Minnesota since 1984. Have seen 2 preseason games in Denver recently. I'm a dedicated fan of all of your Score North content. I enjoy all the shows and bleed purple during football and the Twins blue and red as well. What should I realistically look forward to for Saturday's preseason game? I'll be in section 116, row 8, if anyone is looking to connect with Tim Cody.
Well, Kirk Cousins did confirm during his press conference on Thursday that the starters are not going to play. So you should look for, honestly, if I'm not being a smartass, I would say this. I would keep a close eye on the cornerbacks. I would keep a close eye on number 40, Ivan Pace Jr., who I think has a very good chance to win a starting job, but will play. And I would say, as far as the offense goes, probably keep a close eye on the receivers that do play. Brandon Powell will play. Rager will play. Yeah. So, if I was going to watch 3 things, that's probably it, because starters aren't playing. You can watch the offensive line, but it's the backups. It's not going to mean much. Ed Ingram, I would guess, is going to play again, but I don't know for sure. But I think the wide receiver 4 and 5 spots, and I think that the cornerbacks are probably going to be the most important, because you are looking at guys who are possibly going to be important in the regular season.
Yeah, that's fair. Jaron Hall, I want to see, can we get something other than rolling out to the right and throwing a ball away? And some of that was just his offensive line gave him very little chance. But yeah, I'd like to see some steps forward. There's been some questions. I didn't put one in our batch here specifically, but about some of the DTR. Is it Dorian Thompson Robinson?
The UCLA quarterback, yeah.
Yeah, there's been some rookie quarterbacks that are not like the first round guys, but that have looked pretty good.
Yep.
I don't know that you can judge a whole lot based on what you're seeing in these preseason games going forward, but it would be nice to see Jaron Hall carve up a third-team defense in the second half, wouldn't it?
Yep. I'm also curious, are we going to see, since Kirk's not going to play, Mullins in the first half, Hall in the second? Are they going to reverse that? Which I would guess they're not going to, but you could. Mm-hmm. Because, that was... Jaron Hall looks very raw, so I'm not excusing him, but I'm with you. That was rough last week. One series where he basically got sacked twice, and I think the 3 and out was 10 seconds. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah. Justin R. says the Score North training camp coverage has been the best in town. Judd's camp notes for the win.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
But I think you guys are too bullish on the defense. They have not been good since 2019 and have not added any Pro Bowl caliber players. If Vegas set the season points allowed total for the defense at 400, would you take the over or the under? For some context, the last two 17-game seasons, the Vikings defense has allowed 426 and 427 points. Would you take over or under 400 points allowed on defense?
I'd probably take under.
Over.
But
Over.
But you know what? Just to be very clear here, because he's right, like it's come off like we are praising them. And it's not what we're doing. They've been so bad that I think they're going to be improved. Like the bar at which our discussions begin about this is not like it's 2017 going into 18. So like my expectation is not that this is going to be great, but make no mistake, they were at the bottom of the league in several defensive categories. And it's my opinion that they can get up to like, let's say 20th, which still is not like knocking your socks off, 15th possibly.
Yeah.
But I just think that the scheme is going to be improved. But the one thing that we talked about yesterday that I am concerned about, and I don't think that there's been enough that we can go on is the run defense actually going to hold up? But I just want to be clear, we're talking about a bottom-feeding defense improving. So I don't think any of the three of us are like, this is going to be a top 5, a great group. We just think it's going to be improved because the scheme and the coaching is going to be better than it certainly was last season.
But is it possible, like Declan's taking the over 400, is it possible that it's just going to look a lot different and they're still going to give up 24 points a game on average?
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. But I mean, if you could make adjustments, and you can get, especially once you put things on film,
yeah,
I think that there is a chance that it's going to be, how can I put this as nicely as possible? I think there's a chance it's going to look competent. Last year was incompetence. The end of Mike's tenure started to fall apart, but last year was flat out incompetence.
Yeah.
Like who coached them? Ed Donatel sure as hell didn't.
Okay, Sean Payton. Okay, this is a brotherhood of coaches now. Okay,
yeah. Easy Ed, man. I'm telling you. Oh boy, I could have warned him after 4th and 26 in 2003.
Yeah. Hey, before we there's some other great questions here that we're going to get to. If you guys could click the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't already on the Purple Daily YouTube channel, you can help us spread the word about this awesome community. You guys have just been so great, just building up this show for us and helping make it one of the biggest football podcasts in America. And also, if you could support our sponsors by buying their products or telling them that we sent you, starting with Nutrisource here. So our dogs, actually, here's a great question from John Muehlbauer on YouTube. He says, totally off topic, I was wondering what breed or combo platter is Phil's dog Maya? That's Maya on the YouTube channel right there. So a funny story about that. Maya, when we adopted her, we were told she is a Chihuahua Terrier mix. So she's got kind of the Chihuahua face, Chihuahua ears, but then like the Terrier body and hunting instincts. But then we did one of those doggy DNA tests, and it came back that she's like 14 different things. And
that's what Stella is.
So we have no idea, basically, what Maya is. Look at Stella.
Stella is the same exact thing. And the one thing we know is that she loves her Nutrisource Trading Rewards treats. What we don't know is what she is because she's the same thing. It came back, she's like 15 things. But here's the problem. All of our dogs now are in the system. So if they've committed crimes or something, they're going down because they're going to be run through the doggy DNA database. We're all screwed.
Yeah.
And Vinny's a mini golden doodle, so there's no getting around of something else mixed in there. He actually looks more like his mom than his dad. We saw pictures of what mom and dad look like, and especially when he gets his haircut. He looks exactly like his mom. Yeah, we call him Rosebud when he gets his haircut because that was the name of his mom. So we call him Little Rosebud. And but general, he's Vinny. That's who he is.
And they're all Nutrisource dogs. They're all Nutrisource dogs. NutrisourcePetFoods.com to find a Nutrisource retailer near you. And you can support the show that way. In terms of people food, human food, let's tell the audience, Declan, about 3 Jack, one of our favorite restaurants in the Twin Cities area.
Yeah, you can go to 3Jack and 3Jack.com. And with fantasy football draft season coming up, one of the best times of the year, why don't you have it at 3Jack? You can book a 2-hour bay and you get 1 hour for free. That's right. You can put your draft sim right up on that big golf board. Maybe you want to swing a golf club between the picks. You can go to 3jack.com, load up on those loaded nachos, get the steak sandwich, get a salmon salad, get the open-faced steak sandwich. It's really dang good, too. Once you're planning that fantasy football draft, you can go to 3jack and 3jack.com and tell them that your friends at Purple Daily sent you. Go to 3jack and 3jack.com.
And then if you're in pain, whether it's ankles, feet, and then all the way up to neck, back, whatever it is, Summit Orthopedics is here to help you. No referrals are needed, and they offer same-day appointments. If you're really hurting, Summit Orthopedics also offers walk-in orthopedic urgent care 7 days a week starting at 8 a.m., 25 locations across the Twin Cities and greater Minnesota. Learn more at summitortho.com. Okay. Let's keep going here. Brian Gibbs says, I've been working hard to get some Surly Before I Die in the Chicago area in time for opening day. There are taps.
Bars.
We've seen taps.
Yeah, we've seen them in bars in Chicago.
Yep.
Chris, a rep for Surly in Chicago, is accommodating me. My late father, who grew up in Minnesota, always said just one before I die. So when the beer came out, it really hit home.
Nice.
If there are Surly Before I Die taps in Chicago bars, we've definitely seen pictures. So keep snooping around. Let's see here. Okay, Christopher Moe says, wow, I thought Write That Down was a friendly game played between co-hosts and fans. That video clearly showed the tail end of a skirmish. I agree, someone swung at someone else. Why else would they be separating players? Judd and the Deckmeister should be ashamed for the blatant disregard of what they saw.
It's
Christopher Moe, what a great...
It's one thing to read fan reaction. It's another to make up a name and write it yourself.
I'm not making this up.
Clearly that's what... Christopher Moe, here's my question. Do you exist, or is this a figment of Phil's imagination?
Wow.
Another
now you're
persona?
Now you're questioning Phil's integrity of Feedback Friday?
You think I'm making all these up to make myself look good?
And by the way, you got the point. You got the point off yesterday for sure.
Oh, boy.
Boy. A lot of controversy. The amount of people debating and arguing whether it was a skirmish or not.
Since when has Write That Down been friendly, though?
Yeah, make no mistake. It's vicious.
It is a vicious game.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Phil's
if you want
burner.
friendly.
Phil's burner account.
Check out the initials game if you want friendly.
Wow. See, now that's a shot. Unnecessary shot at other media companies.
Well, that's more friendly than us. They bring on their friends.
We're bringing our friends and Write That Down. Our friends.
The listener, one person, but the rest of us are very.
Judge is going rogue, attacking right now. This is great. Okay, Joe Mers chimes in and says, guys, I get this gut feeling that Cousins is going to take a step back this year, only because everyone is talking like he's going to have a big year. I am 60 years old, longtime Vikings fan, and this is my fear. It would be so Vikings if Cousins took a step back. What do you guys think the chances of this are?
Boy, I don't think he's going to. Like, unless it's an age thing, which I think he's still okay there, especially for a quarterback. And he does keep himself in fantastic shape and now has a body coach. I don't expect him to take a step back. But again, keep in mind, I'm also not a big fan of the counting stats, and those certainly did take a step back in some cases, which is absolutely fine. Do I expect him to lead 8 fourth quarter comebacks? No. Do I expect that Kevin O'Connell, Kirk Cousins in this offense will score more points throughout the entire game so they don't have to come back in the fourth quarter? Yes. But I would be surprised if we saw a big decline. And to go back to what we've talked about before, it doesn't appear that Kirk Cousins being in the last year of a contract derails him. So I don't expect that to be a huge deal because he's been here and done that before.
Real quick on this. So earlier in the week, I think it was like Monday or Tuesday, we talked about Kirk in the second year of this offense compared to Matt Ryan from like 7 or 8 years ago, the second year in the Kyle Shanahan offense, and how Matt Ryan took a huge step forward. He was a little younger. He was like 31, but he took a huge step forward. He won the MVP. He led the league. So he took a step back from his career numbers the first year in the Shanahan system, but he led the NFL in fourth quarter comebacks. The parallels to Matt Ryan in a very similar system with a similar coach. So first year under Shanahan as the offensive coordinator, overall numbers take a step back, but he leads the NFL in game-winning drives and fourth quarter comebacks. And then the next year, the complete package shows up, and he leads the NFL. He wins the MVP, leads the NFL in yards per attempt, in passer rating, in QBR, in touchdown percentage, throws for almost 5,000 yards, 3-touchdown lead in the second half of the Super Bowl. We all know what happened. And then kind of came back to earth after that. But I don't know. I'm not saying there's a duplicate here, but there's similarities in it. First year in O'Connell's system, lead the league in fourth quarter comebacks, but the whole package wasn't there. What has he lost, Cousins, that would, unless it's an age thing and he just like hits an age cliff? To me, everything is additive. It's another year. It's more comfort. It's better wide receivers because you're replacing Thielen with Addison, right?
Yes. There are, make no mistake, definite concerns with this team. Interior offensive line, the defense. Kirk Cousins is way down my list. Way down my list. And you know, from all appearances to what you're talking about, Phil, they got Kirk Cousins, the right coach, which they didn't have. And I'm not absolving Kirk either. But yeah, this is, if I was to have a pie chart of worry, Kirk Cousins is not going to get much of a slice, if any.
You may have invented a new segment, a pie chart of worry.
Pie chart of worry. That's a very Zolgadian thing.
Or can we? Is there some sort of alliteration? Is there a synonym for worry that starts with a P or a CH?
Well,
pie chart of panic. The pie chart of panic.
Pie chart of panic.
It's good.
Sure.
We'll add it to the list of
I like it.
Dex, if you had to guess, I mean, what is there a chance Kirk takes a step back in your mind, or are you not really concerned about that?
There's a chance. You know, his numbers, I know overall his perception I thought took a step forward, but his numbers took a half step backwards last year. And you good there, Jed?
Pie chart of pessimism from forever mediocre. Pie chart of pessimism.
Pie chart of panic.
Very well done.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I think there is a chance he can take a step back because his numbers took a step back. And the thing that I've been beating home is just because the elite quarterbacks have played well into their mid to late 30s does not mean every quarterback can play well into his mid to late 30s.
Yep,
and that is what I am concerned with. Is Kirk Cousins part of the trend, or is Kirk Cousins potentially taking a step back? And we have to wait and see.
Yeah. All right, this next one is a question I saw floating around social media this week. I'm going to throw it at you guys. For $1 billion given up front, just, I don't know if you have to pay taxes, but whatever. Here's $1 billion. Would you have Mike Tyson in his prime always trying to find and kill you? Here are the details. A man comes up to you and gives you the offer of a lifetime. You can have $1 billion on one condition. Just straight up, here's $1 billion. Your entire life, you will be chased by prime Mike Tyson. He is immortal and has infinite resources at his disposal to find you. You, however, can use your $1 billion to run from him or use the resources to protect yourself. The only way to defeat Mike Tyson is to beat him in hand-to-hand combat.
Oh no!
Do you take the $1 billion?
No.
You could train yourself up to beat him in a fight.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that. Mike Tyson in his prime would find me and kill me. Like,
but you're not thinking creatively enough here. You could you could hire like security teams to just always be around.
I don't want this hanging over my head.
Armed security.
No. I don't want this. I want my life. I don't want to be worried. And Mike Tyson, like, if he got you, he'd rip your head off. That Mike Tyson.
Well, your ear for sure he would rip off.
Well, but I mean, if you remember, well, you guys don't, but when Tyson was in his prime, that's a scary
I remember.
man.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm out. No.
Declan, do you know who Mike Tyson is?
Yes, I know who Mike Tyson is. It's a
90s
guy. Yes, I'm well aware who Mike Tyson
Jay
is.
Buhner, not so much. They traded Jay Buhner.
Give me 80s boxers, and then maybe I won't be able to tell you who they are. I'm good with the
Thomas
90s.
Hearns.
I don't know who that is.
Larry Holmes.
I know that. I know Larry Holmes.
Sugar Ray Leonard.
No Sugar Ray Leonard.
Okay.
Yep,
okay.
Know those ones at least.
So you guys are out on the billion. You're out on the billion.
I'm not going to be running.
No chance.
Oh my God.
No chance.
So I'm in on the billion, and and there's some, like, let me see here. Someone just put the yacht suggestion here. Too evil to hope. You see, you just like get a yacht, and you're just always on a yacht, and then you can be training like Rocky.
I'm afraid. want me to tell you why, Mackie? I'm afraid.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid. For the first time in my life, I'm afraid.
I don't want to be on a yacht constantly.
What if you're just on
training.
private jets and yachts with internet, so you can still do Purple Daily?
No, he's gonna come on a jet ski and still try to kill me.
With his boxing gloves.
Yeah.
No, I'm out. I'm out. I totally get the question. I love it. It's fun. No.
Yeah. Another thing, like people are suggesting here, you could hire some sort of like Black Ops SWAT team to capture Mike Tyson and put him on an island or something, or imprison him in some way.
He's immortal.
It's not work. You're paying for other people to do it.
No, but
You'd be the worst rich person ever.
I got to hire them. I got to find them to pay them. I don't want to have to.
No,
and
you
plus,
hire someone to hire them. That's what you do.
If I kidnap, which that is Mike Tyson, that's a federal offense. And now, despite the fact that
not
Tyson
if you distance yourself from it.
God, do you know how much work you're talking about here?
Dude, you know how much you can skirt if you get $1 billion?
I just want to get done with these shows and go take my nap.
Knox Vanderwerf chimes in. That's a great name, by the way. He says, my name is Knox. I am 13 years old. I really enjoy listening to Purple Daily. About a week ago, when I was at Vikings training camp, I noticed Judd on the sidelines. I called his name, and he signed my flag. Do you remember this interaction?
Oh, yeah. That was the night practice. I signed two things. I signed a football and a flag, and that's why I apologized, because I have to improve on my signature. We talked about this. So Knox, but thank you for asking. That was very nice.
Knox says, I listened to the podcast the next day. I heard Judd talk about signing my flag. I was so excited to hear him mention it. It made my year. I'm a big Vikings enthusiast, and if you guys ever need for a youth commentator, let me know. I would love to join in on your podcast sometime. Knox, we'd love to get you on. Write that down sometime.
Absolutely. And Ventline.
And Ventline.
For sure.
He did not complain about your signature being bad here. So,
well, that's very nice of him. But I mean, I am taking it upon myself to work on it to improve it.
Okay. So Stephen Barbie asks here in the YouTube comment section, will we be seeing any more wrestling guests in the future on Score North? Maybe Shayna Baszler. So Shayna Baszler is a huge Vikings fan.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
It'd be kind of fun to get Shayna Baszler on.
Yep.
But I mean, if you guys have ideas for Roman Reigns would be awesome, because Roman Reigns was in Vikings training camp in 2007.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be the crown jewel.
I think he actually left camp because he got sick.
Yeah.
I think that's when he started his battle against cancer. I was tipped off to it at the time, but his name was what, Joe Asamoah or something like that.
It's Joe. Is it pronounced? It's Anoa or Joe Anoa.
So at that time,
last name.
I was tipped off to the fact that he was sick, but nobody knew him, and so it's like, I wasn't gonna report that. But I think that cut short his camp, and I think after that he eventually, thankfully, got healthy and turned to wrestling.
How about that? Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns both thought, I want to play football. That's what I'm sick of what I've been doing, or I want to play football. And then they both became world-renowned, filthy rich superstars in either combat sports and or WWE. Amazing.
So Brock started the huge brawl that they had in the joint practice back at that time against the Chiefs in Mankato. And I was doing some research on this a couple of days ago. I forgot. So he was a WWE wrestler.
Yes.
Who then the Vikings convinced, or he quit.
He was literally one of the top 2 or 3 stars. It was like 2 years in WWE, maybe 3. He was one of the top 2 or 3 stars, and he quit.
Okay.
In like his mid-20s. He was like 24 or 25 years old.
To try out for the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then he whiffed on that. Yeah. And then he went into UFC fighting.
Because Joe Anoa was coming, I think, out of, if I'm not mistaken, on this Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
And he started as a football player, got sick, left football, and went to wrestling. I'm guessing he probably wrestled at some point in college or something like that. But like he was not in wrestling, I don't think, until he left the Vikings. So Brock just went back to wrestling.
Well, but
eventually.
He went to UFC. He was away from wrestling for like 8 years or something.
Okay.
And then he went to then he became the UFC heavyweight champion for several years. Battled diverticulitis and he almost died at one point while he was in UFC. And then he came back Just kind of and now he's been back in for 10 years. So anyhow, a lot of Vikings connections to the WWE. Corey Larson asks, what would the Vikings look like today if they had drafted Johnny Manziel? Who would have been fired and when? What would the team look like now? Remember, there was a report. Wasn't Jay Glazer reporting that they were trying to trade up to get Johnny Manziel when he was falling?
Yeah, because Cleveland acquired that pick from Philadelphia, and I believe that Jay Glazer reported that night or early the next morning that the Vikings actually had also been on the phone with Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So that was the Anthony Barr, Teddy Bridgewater draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which lends credence, since they took Teddy with the last pick of the first round that they got from Seattle. It lends credence to the fact that they at least made a phone call. Spielman gets fired far quicker, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's Ponder and Manziel in 3-4 years right there.
Yeah. So, dude, could you imagine? Oh my God, could you imagine Mike Zimmer and Johnny Manziel trying to coexist? And it flamed out very quickly in Cleveland, but oh my God. You talk about the polar opposite personality. Also, it would have been interesting. Our guy Alex Boone would have been on the same team for at least one of those years with Johnny Manziel. And so the stories that we would have been getting here on this show years later.
Who was in Cleveland at the time? Was Mike Pettin the coach at the time? And if I'm not mistaken, Kevin O'Connell might have been his position coach.
Kevin O'Connell was definitely on Johnny Manziel's staff. Yeah.
And I believe Kevin O'Connell, before he got back in the league, I think he was one of the guys that trained Manziel in San Diego.
What draft was that?
2014. Right?
Okay, it would have been Mike Pettin.
Okay, it was Mike Pettin.
2014 and 15.
That'd be a great story. He's on the Viking staff right now with O'Connell.
Oh my God, that guy probably has so many crazy stories. And then Hugh Jackson came in 2016. Can't remember the exact last year. So wow, yeah. I mean, it would have been the biggest train wreck in history. And I don't know that it would have. I'm trying to think. So the Vikings, they wound up going to the playoffs and almost beating the Seahawks with Teddy Bridgewater. So they definitely don't do that, right?
Right.
I'm trying to decide how much would they have that defense was going to be good no matter what. I don't think Mike Zimmer would have even put Johnny Manziel into games.
No.
Being that unprepared and
Teddy's first year, right? He didn't start. He only played because Matt Castle got hurt.
Yep.
But yeah, you're right. Manziel wouldn't have played, and my guess is it would have cost Spielman his job, but not Mike.
Yep, I think you're right. And then I just feel like around that time, the Vikings had some real leaders in that locker room too. You know, the Brian Robinsons. If you think about on a lesser level, Everson Griffin was a huge pain in the ass and party guy behind the scenes, and the Vikings kept that completely hush and quiet for a long time. Yep. You know, there were a couple public incidents that popped up with Everson, but they've always just had, you know, basically since the 2005 Love Boat locker room, they've had some pretty good locker rooms with leaders. You know, the Harrison Smiths, they tend to keep things, you know, Adam Thielen.
I mean, Manziel was
pretty quiet.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Manziel doesn't play, and it's just a disaster. Yeah. Like there was no infrastructure. Cleveland was not a good one, but I don't think there was any infrastructure that you were going to put Johnny Manziel into that would have worked.
Yeah.
You know, from the Patriots on down, I think it would have been a disaster, and it was.
Yep. And then they would have had their house would have been messed up and need of some fixing, and so they would have had to call Finch Home Solutions to help them. You know, clean things up, I guess. Yeah.
And my friend Cody and his team would have shown up at their house in that Viking color, in that purple colored van, and they would have knocked on the door, come in, and guess what? They would have done what Johnny Manziel couldn't do, which is they would have fixed the problem. They would have been courteous. They would have been efficient. They would have told you exactly what you needed to know, not a bunch of garbage, but what you need to know, and then they would have left, and you would have said, Finch Home Solutions is absolutely fantastic. How do I know this? Because they came to my house. That's right. Sports Dad let them in to my house, and they did a fantastic job. Fast, efficient, absolutely fantastic. Right now, a free electrical panel inspection can be yours, or pay $199 for a home safety inspection. Both are very important. But here's the thing with Finch. No job is too small. No job is too big. They can do anything from rewiring your entire house to changing an outlet. 612-357-2604 or go online, finchhomesolutions.com, finchhomesolutions.com. There's a form right there to fill out. They will show up in that van. They will fix the problem. I guarantee it. finchhomesolutions.com.
Hey, a shout out to our friends too at EcoFun. So many fun toys to get your butt into. We're talking electric bikes. We're talking 49cc up to 300cc scooters for you to get out and ride around on. Youth ATVs, golf carts that are souped up and ready to rock and roll. Just all sorts of fun things. EcoFunMotorsports.com. 2 locations in the metro area, Forest Lake off I-35 and Burnsville off 35W in County Road 42. And tell them that Purple Daily and or Score North sent you in, EcoFunMotorsports.com. All right, boys. Good session here. Good little Feedback Friday session. Mm-hmm. We have another episode, too. It's been a while since we've picked the Vikings schedule. So we're about halfway through the preseason. We're going to pick the Vikings schedule in a bonus episode, and then we'll probably pick it again like right before the season starts, once we kind of know what the roster officially looks like and some of the opponents. But yeah, keep the feedback coming. YouTube comment section and the feedback tab inside the Score North app. And remember, we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.